We're on to Bespin, which was one of the showcase levels at E3, and I guess as I put it somewhere, our make and break level, because we were always aware of the fact that if early on, I think in our February meeting when the game started, everybody said, okay, if we can pull off Bespin till E3, then the game is possible for launch and for Christmas. If we can't do that, either we have to drop Bespin, or in general, the more general message is we're dead in the water. So what was so tricky about Bespin? I mean, let's talk about it from both the content side and from the technical side. Maybe content side first. What was the problem there?
Well, I mean, Bespin's split up into two parts.
Yeah.
I'd like to talk about the part we started first was the city, which was a huge technical hurdle, and the content. The difficult part there was to create a city that was elaborate enough to be next generation, but that could still run at a decent frame rate and still be navigatable to have dogfights in. That was the big hurdle for me.
Did you create the buildings? Or?
Yeah, I created all the tiles and buildings.
Yeah. So how's the city in general working flow?
The city was also like the first big test for all the different shaders, because many of the buildings have like reflection, specular highlights, bump maps, and all this stuff together.
So what are shaders doing for the technical?
Oh yeah, the shaders take a set of information which describe how to like render on screen a certain part of geometry. So like it's two different things. It says the geometry and the shader information, and the shader information says how the geometry looks. And of course, the N64 this was just textures, and on the Dolphin it's like way more complicated. We have specular highlight which make a big impression, the bump map which adds like more detail, which is very important, and the reflectivity when something mirrors in like chromic or metallic surfaces.
How are those clouds in the first part working?
That was Thomas doing volumetric fog. The trick about the volumetric fog is that you have objects intersecting the clouds, and you want to have objects which are just a little bit in fog, of course just a little bit fogged. So like you have to pre-render things just another time to figure out how much they are intersecting with the clouds. And when you have this information, you can, based on that, you can like compute a fog color per pixel.
Yeah.
Technical stuff.
Okay. What was the base concept behind Bespin? Because I mean it's similar to the first world in the sense that you've got the gas platforms around, but the premise is kind of reversed, right?
Yeah, this time around you're trying to actually preserve the gas containers in the first area of the game and the second area. But I guess like the overall premise is the first portion of the level is pre-flight, dogfighting through clouds and whatnot, and then you step it up in the second level with the claustrophobia of doing that inside a city and trenches.
Yeah. How was, for example, those ties here? They're a little bit more aggressive than in the early parts of the game. How long does it take to tweak one of these enemies to behave like you want it?
We're not done yet. We've been tweaking constantly.
Yeah.
No, it did take a lot of back and forth to get them to a point where they're entertaining, and then also fitting into the difficulty context of where it is inside the game.
How do you do it? I mean, what do you have as your palette or arsenal?
What I get to work with is basically their speeds remain constant in the game, so that way you can judge whether you're chasing them and if you can catch up to them where they are on the screen. What I get to work with is how fast they can turn and how well they can pursue you, basically how intelligent they are. And then you couple that with how well they can aim and how often they'll fire at you, and that's a way to get a good enemy chase on.
Yeah. And you just try out the game over and over and over, or how does it work for a level designer?
Well, we try it out over and over again, but then we get a little too good at it and have to watch other people play. And if they're constantly spinning and spinning and spinning, we know that things are a little too hard if they can't chase the time.
Yeah, obviously.
But that's where the test department comes in.
How did the balloons come about? Because the balloons are kind of unusual with the burners inside, right? Was that the concept right from the start?
No, I don't think it was. I don't even think right from the start balloons were just scenery, and then it was putting lasers on them made them actually functional and a threat from the air. And I think burners came in when we started using Mike Keith's physics code to have the balloons explode and drape down on the buildings below.
Yeah,
And I think burners were just an easy weak point to put in there.
Okay.
Well, that makes it nice because it basically you have the option to shoot down the burners or like tackle the guns, which is a little bit harder.
Yeah.
Yep, if you want to show off, you take out all the guns.
Yeah. What was the biggest problem in terms of Bespin? The one main thing which I remember is memory, right?
Yeah, it was cramming all of this in there. I mean, they also have that heightmap data that's used normally to create landscapes of rolling hills, coupled with a tile-based.
What is it? What is it doing here?
For in this level, we're using the heightmap data to create basically one giant mound that is the curvature outside the city.
Any slight hints of how to play especially cleverly in the level?
Cloud cars aren't as weak as you think they are.
Okay.
They're around for a reason.
Yeah. Alrighty. So people should look for the craft changes.